Hello everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening as per your respective time zone. Let me just share my screen and let me know once it is visible. Is it visible, guys?
Yes, it's
Yes.
visible.
So guys, we are here for the information system auditing practical methods and best practices. So in today's webinar, we will be going to discuss like being an information system auditor, what are the skill set that you will require, what are the best practices that we have to follow as an auditor, and I will be also telling you some of the practical methods when we go for the audit. Okay, so this would be our agenda for today's webinar. So without wasting much of your time, let's start our discussion, guys. So first topic is what, suppose if you want to become an auditor, and in auditing also, like there are a lot of fields, guys, correct? Someone from you are already working in the process audit, few of you are working in the statutory audit, few of you are maybe working as an internal audit. So in an audit also there are a lot of areas, and we are here to discuss about information system auditing, correct? Now if you want to become an auditor, then there are a couple of some predefined skill set that you have to uh, acquire. Like if you want to become a successful auditor, you should know those basic skills. Okay, that we will be going to discuss this slide. Now guys, being an auditor, like whether I am a IS auditor or whether I am a operational auditor or a business auditor, I should understand what is the risk. Okay, this is a very, very important thing for being an auditor. When we are doing an audit in each and every area, we will try to identify what is the risk. Okay, what can go wrong in that area. We need to assess those risks. Okay, so that is the first and foremost skill set that should be very, very important for any auditor. Okay, the second skill set is what, communication skills, verbal and written. So guys, being an auditor, you would be interacting with auditee on a daily basis. Okay, you would be on a daily basis interacting with the auditee, so you should acquire a good communication skills in terms of written, in terms of verbal communications as well. Because sometime what will happen, guys, sometime you will see certain auditee who are not very much comfortable in sharing of data. Because see, as an auditor, we are doing our work based on the data provided by the auditee itself. Okay, so we have to encourage the auditee so that they can share the relevant data with us. So you need to build that communication skills as well. You should know that how to get the relevant data from auditee. We have to build that relationship with the auditee. Okay, so over the period of time, you have to work on your communication skill. You need to encourage the auditee so that they can share the data on a timely basis. You need to tell them that we are also here to improve the processes of a company. We are not here to we are not here to find out your mistake. Because sometimes what happens is auditor thinks that being an auditor, we are here to find out the mistake. But no, we are not here to find out or point out any mistakes. We are here to improve the company's policies and the procedures and their controls. So you have to build the skills as well. Third is what, problem solving skills. See, being an auditor, your job will not end once you submit a observation. Okay, because we are not fault finders only. Okay, we have to also suggest them that what would be the best way to basically implement controls, how you can implement the controls against that particular problem, against that observation. So you need to build a problem solving skills as well. Once you find out an observations, once you found out any gap during the course of audit, you also need to suggest the auditee the best possible controls that they can implement to uh, you know compensate the risk or to comply with the control failure. So you need to develop this skills, problem solving skills. Okay, whenever you found any observations, try to give the appropriate recommendations to the auditee as well. Now next skill set is what, guys? Assessment and interpretations. So being an auditor, a various time what you need to do is you need to read the appropriate regulatory requirements, correct? Suppose if you are doing an audit for a bank, if you are doing it for an insurance company, if you are doing it for the broker, if you are doing it for the manufacturing company, so on a daily basis you deals with the various kinds of entity. Okay, you have to do the audit of various processes, various entities. So there are various compliance requirement based on each the entity's nature of the business. So being an auditor, you should develop the skills of an interpretations, like how to interpret that regulatory requirement. Now suppose if I am doing an audit for a bank and when I am reading an RBI circular, sometimes those circulars are written in a generic manner. As an auditor, we need to assess those circular. Accordingly, we need to find out what is the compliance requirement of that circular. So we need to develop that skill set that we can interpret the regulatory requirement. Okay, and after that, we whenever auditee is sharing a data, as an auditor, you should be having a thorough, skill set for analyzing a data, because this is very critical part of an audit. Whenever you get any data from auditee, first you need to ensure that whether that data is complete or not. Was there any integrity issue in the data? We need to ensure the completeness and integrity of data. And after doing that, we need to assess that data as per our assessment skill. So for example, during your audit, whenever you get any Excel files, whenever you get any screenshot, whenever you get any Word document or a PDF document or a policies or procedures, whatever, very important, guys, you have to assess those documents. Don't collect document just for the sake of documentation. I've seen couple of auditors, like what they are doing is, for example, in the idea it is written that they want the change management policy. So once the audit get the change management policy, they close that particular requirement. No, this is not an audit, guys. You are not here for just for the documentation purpose. Once you get the policy, you have to read the policy. You need to understand whether all the applicable regulatory requirements are being included in the policy. Was there any gap at a design level? Was there any controls which are not written in the policy? So that analysis and assessment skill is very much needed if you want to become a good auditor. So whatever document you are getting, guys, please analyze that document thoroughly. Try to understand each and every pointers which are mentioned in the document. And if you are getting stuck anywhere, just ask the help from the auditee. Tell them to explain that data, explain that field. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, conduct audit to ensure the adherence with the standards. So guys, being an auditor, yes, we are referring to a lot of standards as well. Like from a information system auditing perspective, we are referring to the ISO standards. Sometime if you are doing an audit, we are referring to the NIST frameworks, we are referring to the PCI DSS requirements, correct? So all those are the standards which are there in the market. So as per the scope of audit, you need to refer to the applicable standards as well. Okay. Now, if you want to become an IS auditor, definitely you would be requiring the IT knowledge as well, guys, information technology knowledge. You should understand what are the critical domains which are there in the information system auditing area. So you will require that knowledge as well. Okay. Understanding of regulatory guidelines and security policies. So that is very important. As I told you earlier as well, as an auditor, every time, like, you need to understand and read the regulatory requirement and the guideline, and accordingly you need to interpret those regulatory requirements in the guidelines, correct? So these are some of the basic skills that is required to become a successful IS auditor, guys. Okay. Now, those who are very new in this domain, okay, what you can do is, like guys, just to start in this particular domain, read the various policies and procedures. Like, this is my suggestion to everyone who are very much new in the information system auditing. What you need to do is, guys, like suppose if you are working as an internal auditor in some company, process auditor, as a process auditor in some company, but gradually your goal is to become an IS auditor. So what you can do just to start your career, guys, try to read the different policies and procedures of a company. Okay, try to read the various policies and procedures of a company, and I will also give you one reference website. From there also you can find the policies and procedures. Why I'm telling you to read the policy procedures, guys? Because generally what happens is policy procedure includes each and every control area that is implemented by a company. Sometimes company are not writing, but majority of time what happen is whatever controls that are there in the company, okay, those controls are very much documented in their policy procedures. So when you will read this policy procedure documents, guys, it will give you a very fair idea that what is the control environment, what is the standard controls that is required to implemented in those areas. So just try to read the policies procedures of a various company, guys. Okay, this is one point, and second point is what, guys? Try to read the applicable regulatory requirements circular. Nowadays, what is happening, guys? Even the circulars are very much in a detail. Suppose if you see any SEBI circular, any RBI circulars, guys, those circular in itself are very much in a detail. Okay, so that circular will also give you a very fair idea about the control environment, like what kind of control needs to be implemented by a company. So once you understand the control environment, maybe you will be able to understand what are the risks associated with those areas. Suppose if this control is not there, what are the key risks? Okay, so this is how you can gradually do the smooth transition into the ISO. Okay, how we will check whether the data is accurate or not. So for that, Narayan, there are various ways. See, basically what happening is whenever we are asking a data from the auditee, we are also asking the evidence of the data completeness and integration. I will give you one example here, Narayan. For example, you have asked the change request dump from the audit. Okay, what you have asked? You have asked for the change request dump or change request, that number of change that has been done during the audit period. Now, for example, in order to maintain these changes, if company is using a tool like, for example, ServiceNow, so what you will do as an auditor to ensure the completeness and the integrity of a data, you will ask auditee to dump, extract the dump in front of auditor itself. Like you will say, can you please extract this particular dump in front of auditor? Like he will log in into the service now, then he will show you that okay, this is the place where all the change requests are being captured, and from there he will extract that dump in front of you. And like in every applications, there is one options, like from where get you can get the count. Like for example, here, suppose if this is an email, okay, now I want to see how many emails are there. So at the down you can see some counts, basically, correct? That this includes 1 to 50 emails. So what we do is we also ask for this screenshot, that provide me the screenshot as well, whatever data that you have extracted. So I want an extracted data along with the screenshot. So if someone asks me that whether the data was complete or not, I can simply show that screenshot to them. Okay, is it clear? Here you have this, Narayan. This is how you can ensure the completeness of the data. Clear, Narayan? What if the company doesn't have a policies and procedures? So this is a gap, Subha. This is a very a severe problem. If you don't have a defined policies and procedures, there would be a lot of ambiguity, what to follow, what not to follow. Okay, there would be an ambiguity, and everyone follow will their own process. So this will create a lot of miscommunications or misgovernance in the organization. So if policy procedures are not there, That in itself is a very severe risk. Okay, clear, Subha? Perfect, guys. Now, next point here is what? Now, I would be giving you the overall overview of the entire audit methodology and audit approach. So, we will be going to discuss how the audit function works, the step-by-step process we will be going to discuss. Okay. So, first is what? Understand the context, and also for we can look for the timestamp for event I will. Yeah, we can do that. Overview of an audit methodologies and audit approach. So for that, like whenever like guys we are doing an audit for any company, first it is very important for us to understand the organization's business, correct? That is a first and foremost requirement where we try to collect the informations about the business. Okay, what is that business, what that entity is doing, what are the applicable regulatory requirements. We do conduct one of a meeting with the process owner, where the process owner would be giving us a walkthrough and the understanding of the particular area, correct? So this is the first step. Once that is being done as per our audit scope, what we do, guys, we prepare our initial data requirement. Are you aware about this term called an IDR, guys? Are you aware about this term called an IDR? Initial data request. Any one of you? Have you seen the IDR? Or are you aware about the term IDR? Yeah, tell me. Any one of you? You can unmute and speak. Okay, guys, IDR stands for initial data requirement. For example, if you will ask me to do the audit of change management process, okay, as a part of this audit, obviously, I would be requiring some of the document. Like what? I would be requiring the change management policies and procedures. I would be requiring the list of changes which has been done during the audit period. So likewise, in order to validate the controls of this area, I would be requiring some data from the auditee, some data from the auditee. So in a technical term, we call it as an IDR, like an initial data request. So when we start our audit, at the time of starting the audit, there are a few sets of data which we know would be common amongst all the entities. So we call it as an IDR. And then after a walkthrough, suppose if you require any further documentation, we call it as an ADR, which is an additional data request, which is an additional data request or data required. So these are some of the terminology which we are using very frequently during the audit. IDR or ADR. Okay, both are a data requirement only. Like auditee would be providing us some data in terms of like a policies, Excel document, procedure, maybe an access to the their tool itself. Okay, so yes, Suraj, company do provide their documents, they do provide their evidences. That is what the data is. For us, that is what the data is, the documents, okay, the screenshot, the policy procedures, access to tools. So these are the data. And then as an auditor, we do our analysis. What we do? We do our analysis on the same. So this is a second step of conducting an audit where we ask for the data requirement, okay, and we prepare our RCMs as well. Now RCM stands for risk control metrics. What is RCM, guys? RCM stands for risk control metrics. So as an auditor, what we do is we do identify all the risks which are associated with that particular area which is there in our scope. Okay, so we prepare our RCM, which includes the risk, which includes the severity, process, sub process, the total population, the sample population, a reference document, and like too much of a details we are including in our RCM. Okay, so that the appropriate audit risk can be identified. Okay, so this is an RCM, guys, and after that, what we do, we start our field work. Okay, as a part of field work, guys, it is very important for you to understand these two terminology. One is TOD, Okay. And second is TOE. Are you aware what is TOD? What is TOE? Any one of you? What is
Test of
TOD? What is
design and test of effectiveness. TOD is test of design and
yeah,
TO is test of effectiveness.
perfect answer. TOD stands for test of design and TOE stands for test of effectiveness. Can you tell me what is a test of design and what is test of effectiveness with the help of
Uh,
one example? Yeah,
Yeah, so in test of design, we just review the policy and the policy standards and guidelines. We won't do the actual control testing. In test of effectiveness, we will collect the evidence. We will do the actual testing to validate that we are complying with the standard or not.
perfect. Okay, what about other? Anyone else want to add something here? Perfect answer. So, Umesh, what Umesh is saying, guys, when as an auditor you are checking the TOD, yeah, Naran, tell me.
uh, Test
Yeah.
of design is basically
Related to
inspecting all
this
documents.
TOD like the control need to be in place. It means like one sample, for example, it held one sample control need to be in place. Uh, yes, about the TOE. TOE it means like the period of control need to be effective on the period when audit is conducted or performed. Yes, okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, Suraj, tell me.
Test of design is basically inspecting or auditing all the documents, whichever scope we already defined. And in test of
Mhm.
effectiveness, we'll check basically those procedures in practicality, whether on ground
Okay.
all those procedures are effective or not.
Perfect answer, Suraj. So, guys, in nutshell, what is a test of design? As a part of test of design, we do check whether the controls has been designed adequately or not. For example, if I am doing an audit of a change management, I will see whether the company has documented a change management policy, whether the policy includes the initiation of a change, approval of a change, whether the policy includes and talks about a testing, a rollback plan, and whatever is the relevant for the change management process. So here I am checking the design of design of the control, whether the company has properly designed and documented their control environment or not. So this is what I'm checking, and I'm doing the test of design. But test of design in itself is not sufficient to conclude the audit. So what auditor will do after checking the design, they do the checking of actual effectiveness, whether whatever has been designed has is actually and effectively implemented or not. Okay, has been actually implemented or not. So for that we do a test of effectiveness, where we select some of the sample transactions, and then accordingly we will verify those transactions, and we will see whatever is written in the policy procedures whether the same thing has been implemented or not. So we do our testing, a detailed testing. Now here, guys, as an auditor, like whenever you are doing the testing, majority of time you are using MS Excel. Okay, so this is also very important tool for you, being an auditor. Okay, this tool is very handy and very useful. So those who are not good in the Excel, I will highly recommend you to enhance your Excel skills as well, because Excel is a tool which is very useful whenever you are doing an audit. Like in some cases companies are do using their proprietary tool, I'm not denying that, but still, like, MS Excel is a very handy tool. So you should understand the basic feature of an MS Excel, like a VLOOKUP, a pivot table, an HLOOKUP, a sum formula, sum if formula. Okay, how to analyze the data using a data validations, how to apply certain controls. Okay, so those basic level of Excel you should know, so that you can analyze your data thoroughly, and accordingly you can identify the gaps or observations. Okay, guys, So like being an auditor, you have to check the design, you have to do the field work, you need to check the effectiveness. For that, you should also know how to select the appropriate samples. Like for example, guys, if I tell you what is a sample, can you tell me, guys, what do you understand from a term sample? What do you understand from the term called
Selecting few
sample?
items from lot.
So
Yeah, what?
first we have population. So like maybe we are doing testing for the change management. So there will be population
Perfect,
like how many change management went in. So from that
perfect.
we will select the samples. So sample can be like quantitative or qualitative. So
Mm-hmm.
in both terms we can select the sample. So sample is a part of population. So it can be based on the experience, or there are different methodologies through which we can select the sample.
Perfect. So at the end, what is a fundamental thing of a sample? That sample should be what? It should be the true representation of, it should be the true representation of what, guys? Entire population which you are auditing. Correct? In short, can I say that sample should be a true representation of the entire population? So when as an auditor you are selecting the sample, you need to make sure that whatever sample you have selected, it is a true representation of an entire population, because whatever audit opinion that you would be forming, you would be forming that opinion based on a sample, not based on a population. So it is very important for us being an auditor to select an appropriate sampling, and to do the appropriate sampling methodology. We have to apply for that, as rightly mentioned by Umesh. There are a lot of sampling methodology: statistical, non-statistical, attribute sampling, variable sampling. Okay, stop or go sampling. Okay, so as an auditor, we will apply appropriate sampling methodology. We will do select our appropriate samples. Accordingly, we do analyze those samples, and we will identify the gaps. And once the gaps has been identified, what we do, we discuss those gaps with the auditee, because sometime what will happen, there would be a chances that auditee might have shared something else, and you might have not interpreted that data correctly. Okay, so it is very important, whenever you found any gaps, first you need to discuss that finding with the auditee. You need to gain a preliminary agreement from the auditee that whether they are agree with this finding or not. Do they have any other compensating control? Do they have any other data to demonstrate, so that this finding can be closed, or this finding can be looked from the other perspective? So whenever you found a gaps observation, do discuss that with the auditee. After doing a discussion with the auditee, then only put those finding in your draft report. Okay, so like once we complete our testing, guys, we do prepare our query sheet, where we discuss those findings with the auditee. Based on a query sheet, we do prepare our draft report. Okay, like which is like a formal document which will include all the observations. Auditee will provide their responses on a draft report, and after getting their responses, we prepare our final report. So this is how the auditing reporting phase will go. We will prepare a draft report, we will take their responses, we will do a closer meeting, and accordingly we issue the final report. So this is how the entire audit works. Like on a high level, we have just discussed that how the entire audit function works from a start to the end. Like starting would be the understanding the context, and last step would be the issuance of the final report. Then this is how your entire